So we already have discussed the important parameters so far. A few important parameters like GM. We started with GM and have said what is the value of GM. So we figured out that the value of GM is QIC KT by Q. Now in this case it is important to see what is the GM parameter. Is it a DC parameter or AC parameter? So GM parameter is an AC parameter. If you see here, it's del IC by del VV. That means it is taking care of the AC parameter. So it is actually it is taking care of AC components. So it's actually an AC parameter. But in the other side, you will find IC, which is an DC IC, DC bias current. So the parameter that you are getting here is an AC parameter is governed by a DC biasing current. So GM is related to the DC current of the biasing. Okay. So we have seen the limitation of the signals, the high frequency terms, how to avoid these high frequency terms, and what is the condition for the small signal analysis. Then we also have started seeing the input resistance, different resistances. So in different resistances, we have figured out first what is the input resistance R pi, which depends on GM, then IB. So if you know GM, beta 0 will be known. So you'll be able to get what is the value of input resistance. And this is another important, beta equal to beta 0 if DC beta and AC beta is equal, if your DC beta is constant, which can be time dependent based on what is the temperature rise. Sometimes if you increase the temperature, your beta will vary. Even if you increase the IC, if your IC is not constant, if you increase the IC, beta will initially rise, will roughly constant to some point, and then again it will fall because of different reasons. Maybe because of temperature. One of them is temperature and other factors, which you will get to know in our device class. So this beta has to be constant for DC beta and AC beta to be equal. Then we have seen the output resistance, which is VA by IC, and then also have seen the base collector resistance, which is the resistance between base and collector. Base collector is in reverse bias, remember. So this base collector resistance is very high. So as long as it is very high, nothing to worry. Just let it be there. Even if it is there, it's not a problem. But if in any point it becomes low, then it will be a problem. Anyways, now then we have also seen the figure of merit, eta value. We will also see another figure of merit in terms of frequency later. But here this eta is known as figure of merit, which should be very low, at the order of 10 to the power minus 4 or so. So smaller the eta value, better is the device. So from the eta value, you will get to know how much is your R0 if GM is given. Okay. Now there is another important parameter, which is capacitance. So bandwidth depends on both resistances and capacitances. We already have seen different resistances associated with BJT. Now we will see what are the different capacitances. Now to begin with, we will start with diffusion capacitance. So we are so far interested in AC value, and we already have said delta VB can be termed as Vin. So change in the VB, this is the input, right? This is the input. We already have shown that this is the input. Let me see, this is the input. Vin. So whatever VB is the constant bias that I have already said, or whatever is the change in this input side, delta VB can be taken as small Vin, which is the AC component. Then we have delta QE is equal to small QE. Delta QE means change in the carriers in the emitter side can be treated as small QE. Similarly, change in the carrier in base can be treated as QB. Now from charge neutrality, QE and QB are same. So we can only take this part or this part, that actually doesn't matter. But for this analysis we are taking it separately, but ultimately both of them are same, because whatever change you will see in the emitter must reflect in the base. You should not get higher change in base or lower change in base, then it will not help the charge neutrality. I mean, if it is more or less, that means whatever charge is more, it is generating somewhere there, which cannot be true. Okay, so QB and QE should be equal as per charge neutrality. Now we know that Q equal to CV. Q is charge, capacitance and voltage. So in this case, CB, the capacitance, base emitter capacitance, remember this is diffusion capacitance, okay? This is not junction capacitance. This capacitance is because of carrier transport. If there is any change in the charge due to carrier transport, it will show a capacitance. See, if there is any change in Q, you will find a C, an effect of capacitive effect of that due to that change in the charge. So this is a diffusion capacitance. So CB can be written as QB divided by V in. This is the charge, this is the voltage. Okay. Now QE can be written as IC into tau B. What is I? What is current? Current is charge by time, right? So QE, whatever is, if you look at this is your base, this is your emitter, this is your collector. So QE, whatever charge is going there will transit through base and will reach the collector, right? So QE can be written as IC into tau B. Tau B is the base transit time. That means the time taken by a charge to cross the base area. So higher the base width, your tau B will be higher, which is, I mean, it's a common sense, right? If this part is wider, then the time taken by the charge to go from one end to other will be higher, right? So this tau B is known as base transit time. So similarly, we can write delta QE is equal to tau B into delta IC. And we know that QE and QB is equal. I already told from charge neutrality. This two is equal. Now from this equation and this equation, we can say, now from this equation and this equation, we can say delta QB is equal to delta IC into tau B. Just replacing this part, both are same. So the right hand side, both the right hand side will be equal. So delta QB is equal to delta IC into tau B. Now from this delta QB equal to delta IC into tau B, we can write small qb equal to small IC into tau B. For the small signal case, delta QB I already have said, delta QB is small qb, and delta IC can be written as small IC. So for small signal case, you will get this relationship. Now your CB is IC, I already have written CB is QB by V in. Now replace the value of QB. Here I have shown. Now we have got the value of QB. So we have replaced CB is equal to IC tau B divided by V in. Now IC by V in is your GM. So ultimately you have CB is equal to GM into tau B. Now CB is known as diffusion capacitance, as I have said. This is not a junction capacitance. We will calculate the junction capacitance in the coming slides. But in this case, this is your diffusion capacitance, the capacitance generating due to the carriers moving. You know, when carriers are moving, there is a change in the charge. Because of that, we are getting this diffusion capacitance. This is not junction capacitance. So CB also can be written as C pi dash, can be written as QIC by KT. This is the value of GM. We already have calculated. GM is equal to QIC by KT into tau B. Now tau B is your base transit time, which also can be written as WB square divided by 2 into dn. WB means base width. Base width square divided by 2 into dn. dn is the diffusion constant. Now all these analyses are performed for NPN. You will find that in practice we are using more NPN than PNP. In case of PNP, just the polarity will change, but we will use NPN more. And even in practice, you will find people are using NPN transistors more than PNP. What is the reason? One reason is for NPN, NPN, the majority carrier is electron. So your dn value is always higher than dp value. The diffusion constant for electrons is higher than diffusion constant for holes. Somebody may argue that the mobility of electrons is also higher than mobility of holes, but remember in case of BJT it is diffusion controlled. So directly going to the mobility probably won't be a correct answer, although dn is related to diffusion constant is ultimately related to mu, because dn is proportional to mu by Einstein's relation, right? dn is proportional to mu1 by Einstein's relation. So if you say that mobility of electron is higher, it actually means the dn value is also higher, but it is better to say from the perspective of dn because it's a diffusion control device. Okay, and another thing is fabrication of NPN is bit easier than PNP. I mean, it's not a huge difference, but still it's bit easier than PNP transistors. So people use NPN transistors more. But there are cases where PNP transistors are also used, like some of the switches. It's not like everywhere you can use NPN. There are some cases where PNP are also used, but very less. Okay. So what I was saying is CBE, you got the value of CBE to be QIC by KT into tau B. So you got the diffusion capacitance. Now if you look at, this is at the input side, right? B means base emitter. Base emitter is at the input side. If you look at this is collector, this is emitter, this is base. So B is your input side. This is where you put your V in, right? This is where you put your V in. So it is at the input side. Now from the circuit part, if you look at this, let me clean the board. Okay. Now if you look at this, you'll find that between base and emitter there is a capacitance CBE. There are other capacitance also. Along with this CBE diffusion capacitance, you'll find the junction capacitance is also there, but for the time being I am considering only CBE. Now what is the consequence of this capacitance? What if the CBE is very high? For very high CBE, your Z in will be, only for this case, 1 by j omega c. That is what your impedance is, right? So this is BE, okay? This is not BC, this is BE. So this is your impedance. Now if this is very high, your Zin will be low. That means input impedance is very low. Input impedance is very low means it will shunt everything. So ideally what you want, CBE should be very less. Okay? And for a large amount of omega, even if your CBE is less, the impedance will become low. So at high frequency, this capacitance may play an important role. At high frequency, because at high frequency when omega is very high, Zin will become low. Now if you are at high frequency, this Zin will be low, right? So Zin low means it will keep on shunting the base and emitter, which is not desirable, right? And at the same time, what you want? CBE to be very low. If CBE low, Zin is high. Ultimately, your target is to keep Zin high. Now, if both of them are low, then that is the best possible case. Omega is also low, CBE also low, your Zin is always high. Now, both of them are high. CBE is high, omega is high. This will become very low, which is not desirable. So, at high frequency area, you will find things are difficult. Okay, so that is why it is written at low frequency, this shunting capacitance can be neglected, because at low frequency, anyways, Zin will be very high. So, you can neglect these capacitance. But first, we need to see what is that capacitance. Then we will put it in the circuit, then we will neglect. That is the best way to do it. At least you will get to know that there is a capacitance which has some effect. Then similar to this, you have base collector junction, right? So base collector junction is reverse bias. Now this junction also will show an capacitance. Now once your base collector junction is reverse bias, say this is your base, this is collector, this is emitter. Base emitter junction is always forward bias, this is forward bias, but this part is reverse bias. Now if you consider only this part, this is also kind of a diode. Now what happens to a diode? Even the diode is off, the diode is at reverse bias, because you need 0.7 volt to make the diode in forward biased, right? So in this case, what is the capacitance of a reverse biased diode? Will be the capacitance of this base collector junction. So it's junction, okay? It's junction. So this reverse bias capacitance will be the base collector junction capacitance. So what is the reverse bias junction capacitance? We write it as Cj equal to Cjo divided by 1 minus V by phi 0. Now this Cjo is zero bias capacitance. Zero bias capacitance means when there is no biasing, but whatever will be the capacitance will be the zero bias capacitance. Now generally, as I have said, when a diode is even at zero bias, you will find the diode is at reverse biased. You need 0.7 volt for the diode to be in the forward bias. So zero bias capacitance is Cj0 and V is the voltage applied and phi 0 is the built-in potential, which can be written as Kt by Q ln NAND divided by Ni squared. This equation you will get from the device physics. So you have the capacitance value. Now this to the power half. Now this value we generally write this as n, and the value of n can be half or 1 by 3 based on the kind of junction the device has. Now if it is linearly graded, then we can write 1 by 3. Generally for step graded, half is the value. So for linearly graded, people write it 1 by 3. For exponential, maybe it is something different, but more or less we use these two values, 1 by 3 and 1 by 2. Okay. So similarly, our C mu will be C mu 0, that is zero bias capacitance, divided by 1 minus VCB. VCB is the voltage across this junction. This is across this junction. VCB will be the voltage divided by phi 0. Phi 0 is the built-in potential, which can be calculated using this equation. So we have C mu. Now where does that C mu will sit? We already have seen previously R mu, if you remember. Even while I was discussing the previous classes, I have said that between base and collector you have a resistor which is generally very high because it is reverse biased. Just across these resistors you now have C mu. Now this is more or less an RC. That means there is a time relationship between the input and output. Even if you like, if you don't like, it is there. Now the ideal case is RB is very high, C mu is very low, because we have again, just like previously I said, j omega c mu is the impedance. If c mu is very low, your z impedance will be very high, so we can neglect this. But if it is the other way around, there are some worries. We will see based on the cases. Okay, generally r mu is very high, c mu is very less, but anyways you have to remember there is a time relationship because it is rc means it's a time constant, right? So if there is a time constant, there is a frequency component there, so there is a time relationship between the base and collector, base side and collector side. Okay, anyways your emitter is grounded. Okay, so this is the value of your c mu, base collector junction. Then you have base emitter junction. Maybe I should have discussed this before base collector, because I already have discussed one base emitter thing, the diffusion one. Remember this one also base emitter, right? Forward bias. I already said this is the base emitter diffusion capacitance. Correct? This diffusion capacitance you will not get in base collector. Why? Because base collector is reverse biased. This diffusion capacitance is basically because of carriers are moving, and therefore there is a change in the charge. That is what giving this CBE, diffusion capacitance. But in base collector it is already reverse biased. There is no flow of charge, so you will not get this kind of diffusion capacitance there. Similarly, you have seen we have taken consideration the CB resistance, right? The junction resistance CB, but that will not come into the B junction, base emitter junction. Why? Because base emitter junction is forward biased, so it is more or less very less resistance, so we can ignore. So here currently we are calculating the junction capacitance. Now junction capacitance I already have seen, just like previously for a diode it is something like this, but this is only valid for reverse biased. Our base emitter junction is forward biased. Now for forward biased condition you cannot use this. So what people do, they found that the base emitter junction capacitance CJE is equal to 2 into CJE0. CJE0 is the zero bias capacitance. So twice this value is your base emitter junction. So this is an empirical formula. Empirical formula means no such this thing, I would say physics or anything behind this formula. They have done a lot of experiments and observed for a long time, and they found that generally this CJE is twice the value of CJE0, and if we take this, things will be taken care of. More or less this is the situation. So they used this formula. So your junction capacitance is twice the value of CJE0. Now you remember B, the diffusion capacitance I just showed, and now you have the junction capacitance. So your total capacitance C pi will be CBE plus CJE. Okay, so this is the total input capacitance of your BJT. So here you have a C pi and you have a R pi. This is input resistance we calculated previously. This is, now we have calculated the C pi value. Okay, so this is your base emitter junction condition. Now you have collector and substrate. So you have a substrate terminal as well. We generally keep that terminal grounded. So this terminal is grounded. But if you look at the fabrication, from the fabrication point of view, you'll find that this collector and this substrate has a junction, right? There is a junction. Now this junction will also give you some capacitance. So this capacitance, this is always in reverse bias because this is grounded, right? So these capacitance are calculated based on the potential at C and substrate. So this is again a reverse bias diode. So CS0 will be CCS will be CCS0 divided by 1 minus VCS by 50 to the power n. Okay, so this is again another capacitance, the collector substrate capacitance. Now there will be a resistance as well in the junction, but it will be very high, so we can neglect that. That will not do much into the circuit. So we are only calculating the capacitance in this case. Okay. So your capacitance is basically between the ground and collector terminal. Now if you look at this structure, you will find that each of these area, emitter, base and collector, will have their own resistances as well. It must show some resistance, right? So these resistance values are RBB dash for base, RES for emitter and RC for collector. Okay, so just few resistance values. These are not very important, but it is better to have an idea about this. So these are the three resistances that also we will consider. Now if you include all of them, that these resistances that we have calculated previously, then few capacitances we have calculated. Now these three resistances, if we include all of them, we will get the equivalent circuit of BJT, which looks like this, wherein this is B dash, E dash and C dash is the this internal terminals. And then you have these resistances connected, which I just have calculated. Now in many of the cases you will just use B dash, E dash and C dash terminals, you will just neglect this terminal, these resistances. Okay, but for the sake of understanding, it is better to know that there are resistances as well. Okay, so you have C pi and R pi in the input side, you have C mu and R mu just between base and collector, I have shown, and in the output side you have a current source GMVB and output resistance R0, and then I just have calculated the collector substrate capacitance. So this is your complete circuit, equivalent circuit of BJT. Now for getting this circuit, we have calculated all these parameters. Now from here you can understand all these components has been covered. Now whenever you find a BJT in certain circuit, you just replace the BJT with this circuit, and then you start solving for different circuit analysis. So mostly you will be solving KCL, KVL, mesh analysis, node analysis, Thevenin's, Norton's. Okay, mesh and node is basically KCL and KVL, but you will find those equations and you will find current and voltage, whatever is required at that point of time. So this is the equivalent circuit of your BJT.